And now welcome again. We have to be continually with that next episode. So previously we discussed about the refining of the data. So what I said, so that we have to be going to collect that data from the people, and some people may answer for our questions and some may not for our questions. So in that moment we can't able to present this set of that information with the missing values. So in that moment we have to be fill up these values with that certain predictions. So for that we are having that varieties of that algorithm is there. So in this missing values we may work out with that one beautiful algorithm is called, that is the Bayesian algorithms, and then Bayesian net algorithms. There we can able to make that certain prediction on it, and then we may go with that certain statistical methods. In case if we collected the data in the form of digits, in that moment we may go with that either by median or that mean or more, and then some probabilistic methods we can able to incorporate to fill up that missing data. And then after refining that all the data, and then remove that all these varieties of missing values, and then we have to be store the data in appropriate format. In case if we are working with that large data model, and then we have to be go with it any big data kind of tools like storing tools like the Hadoop, and then we may go with the Hive or the big. So these are all the tools we have to be work with that large data models. In case if it is in the small sector of that data, and then we may go with that MySQL or that the SQL or that Oracle, and then so these kind of the things, and then NoSQL, MongoDB. So today we are having that so many varieties of the database management systems in the form of structured and then unstructured methods. So from these things we may store our data according to our requirements, and afterwards, so there we are going to be implement that core concept is called that analyzation of the data. So in the analyzation of the data we have to be thoroughly analyzed. So what I collected, from whom were collected, and then from that data set I have to be apply certain relationship among that data. So when we have to be talk about that is the relationship, we may apply any mathematical methods or that any mathematical tools incorporation with that data to make an to find an relationship in between of the data. So for that purpose, so already we know, already we studied the regression methods. In case if we are working with that linear data, we may go with that linear regression. In case if you are having that non-linear data, and then we may go with that logistics regression. In that logistics regression we are having that function is called that is a sigmoid function. So where we can able to fix that through two threshold points. In this two threshold points we can able to distinguish the set of the data. So in recent days the sigmoid is giving that very beautiful analytical output for that set of the data. There is the so much of proven verified, and then so proven report by using that sigmoid methods. And apart from that we may go with that gradient descent methods, and then so many parameters is there. So for that we can able to use so these things for this purpose also to make that certain analyzation of that data. So these are all that primary things when we have to be making certain analyzation. And then so finally after the analyzation of the data we have to be present the data. The presentation is that very important when we have to be talk about the data analytics. In case if I am going to present the data as a data by the rows and columns, nobody will understand what the data is going to say. So there is no purpose on it. So when we have to be present the data, that should be in the form of certain graphical representation, either the two-dimensional or that three-dimensional or that certain multi-dimensional. So when the people is looking over into the graphical representation, the person, those who are looking over into the data, easily understand what that data is going to say. and then so what is the relationship between the coordinates, and then you can able to differentiate that which one is comes from that dependent variable and which one is comes from that independent variable. So from these things you can able to be clearly distinguish how the data is analyzed, and then what will be the outcome of that collected data. So for that every analyzation, the outcome is that very important. When we are presenting these outcomes in the graphical representation, that's very much useful for the customer or the reviewer or for the client. So when we have to be go with the data analytics, so these are all the basic pipeline. I have to be collect the data, refine the data, store the data, and analyze the data. Finally, I have to give that is that presentation. On the next episode, continually we have to be see how these things has to be taken place.